Donovan, the HUD secretary, is also speaking. He is saying, he's outlining his mortgage plan and saying that the new foreclosure plan announced by the president, the limit is 729,000. So, Mark, whether you like it or not, the number of people who can get in there is a little bit higher than maybe was first thought when they thought it was the old conforming limit. Mark, back to you.
All right, thank you, Steve Leisman. More action on Capitol Hill. A handful of well-known economists will be testifying in front of the House Financial Services Committee momentarily. Witnesses include James Galbraith, Joseph Stiglitz, Alan Blinder, among others. We'll keep tabs on that hearing and bring you any developments, but will not inflict it on you full force.
Mr. Faber.
Thank you. Yeah, listen, more bad news. Of course, you just heard it out of the housing sector. New home sales, of course, falling to another record. But Atlanta Fed President Dennis Lockhart says he's losing sleep not over the residential side of the real estate market, but the commercial side, because many banks continue to have a great deal of exposure there, as do many insurance companies. Is commercial real estate still yet to build in terms of a crisis? Well, we're joined by Philip Blumberg. He's Blumberg Capital Partner and CEO. And Rick Santelli, there he is. Philip, let me start with you, of course. Earlier this week, I reported on AIG not going to report a loss of over $60 billion on Monday. Part of that due to write-downs on CNBC, real estate owned. We all hear about the Manhattan real estate market, of course, in terms of office space declining rapidly, malls around the country losing tenants who are retailers that are going bankrupt. Have we fully accounted for how bad things are going to get in this area?
No, I don't think the discount has fully been taken into account. All you got to do is track job losses, because those job losses are the leading indicator for the decline in demand for commercial property space. I think there has been significant forward discounting taken into account when you can buy CMBS at 12 to 14% on the super senior tranche. But if these job losses continue, you can track the commercial real estate market right against it.
And so what's the play here, and what should we expect in terms of further potential write-downs, again, from the banks?
Well, here's the problem. We're not getting the write-downs from the banks because they're in a sort of a form of suspended animation. Not knowing what the next bailout will be causes them to be reluctant to take the kind of write-downs that are necessary to get the free market back into action. We are keeping the free market not free and not flowing because the government interference is creating a big question mark, I think, in all potential buyers' minds as to when and where the bottom's coming.
Rick, thoughts or a question?
Well, the last thing our guest just mentioned is not only, in my opinion, true about the current question you asked them on commercial mortgage-backed securities or real estate, but it is true about so many other issues. Right. That the government intervention and programs meant to do a good thing might exactly be doing the opposite by keeping investors from doing what they might do with good research and strategy as the dynamics change based on government programs.
Yeah, agreed here as well, of course. That all began, though, a long time ago, unfortunately. Actually, over a year ago, with the original bailout of Bear Stearns. Phil, back to you, though, on CMBS and what we can expect in terms of potential losses, specific to AIG, for example, or other insurance companies. Where are we going to start to see this show up? And what are your expectations, in terms of how impaired some of these securities are and, of course, what it's going to mean for REITs as well?
Well, it's going to affect the entire market, including the REIT market. But because CMBS is a tranched debt instrument with a series of bonds, it's not a wipeout of the entire loan. It's impairment of different levels of the loan. I would say that, at $1 trillion, which is roughly speaking what the commercial property sector lending volume has been, we're going to look at $500 billion to $700 billion in impaired loans. Not wiped out loans, but impaired loans. Mm-hmm. And the problem right now is, think about it. You buy at peak market with heavy debt. What's going to happen when the market drops? You're going to have to take a wipeout somewhere. Yeah. It's going to be on the borrower side and the lender side, and that's where we are right now.
Right. I would assume many of those developers in New York City, for example, who are watching, who are highly levered and watching their per square foot numbers come rapidly down, are in a very difficult position. Of course, you can't refinance, correct?
That's right. There's no money to refinance. But here's the other problem. At 80 to 90% when you bought it, you're now looking at effectively 130 to 140% loans. So any refinancing in today's market is going to be around 50 or 60%. Look at that gap. That's the problem.
Yeah, sounds like a similar problem we've had on residential. One good part of the news, CNBC, they didn't make CDOs out of it. At least we got that going for us.
There you go.
Philip, thank you so much. Philip Blumberg and, of course, our own Rick Santelli. Send it back to you, Mark.
All right, thank you very much. David Faber up next. Check on the day's big stock and energy moves.
And General Motors meeting with the White House Auto Task Force today. You heard Phil LeBeau speaking about that. You know, it comes down to this. Was it 87.4 or 84.7? I don't know if I'm being dyslexic. 84.7. That was
$1 million a day.
A day lost by General Motors last year. Do we really need to bother with this? And they've already laid off, almost 50,000 people just last year. So the question is, do you just say enough is enough? We'll take a closer look at that. Right now, we're up 61, so we're holding into those gains. Walk on the street back in a moment.
You thought people wouldn't be traveling as much these days. So, why are they still leaving you behind? Time and again, to go off with their other car. Maybe it's the low rates on Avis.com. Maybe it's because your backseat smells like pickles. Or the rate thing.
Find our lowest rates on your favorite other car at Avis.com.
All right, your business. Well, say you want to improve customer service and keep your overall budget in line. Well, with UPS, you have the options to control the speed and the cost of your shipping. They have more express shipping options than anyone, from 2 days to same day. It's whatever speed you need. It's not just your business. It's your business with UPS. Whoa, that was close.
A move to Michigan is giving life science companies life. Take Asteran, for example. This human tissue bank